Despite its shortcomings and infamous reputation, Shadowlands brought forth many fun, interesting, and useful items. Whether it's quality of life elements or just helpful tools to traverse the realms, many of these knickknacks brought a slight ease to drown out the drawbacks of Warcraft's afterlife. From toys to profession crafts, we're going to go over each of the convenient and practical Shadowlands items. Rounding out the 10th entry on this list is the Collapsing Riftstone. This is a rare drop from Korthia and a guaranteed drop from Zolval's Vault in the Maw while in the Rift phase. Much rarer would be the Riftstone that's purchasable from the summonable NPC Broker Vakant during the Venthyr Assault quest Vakrak's Fan Club. The reason this item is useful is simply due to the fact that it's a raid-wide teleport into the Rift, a shadowy version of the Maw, meaning you no longer need to have Tier 4 research with Archivist's Codex to buy repaired Rift keys in order to enter. As long as you have a party or raid member with a Riftstone, you'll be able to access this realm. This item makes for smooth grouped activities, including accessing Zolval's Vault for another guaranteed drop of 1 to 2 Collapsing Riftstones. The reason for its placement is due to other means of accessing the Rift, but it does have its merit in accessing certain Rift rares without having to traverse through Korthia and the Maw, risking death and other obstacles. Quickly popping a Riftstone while searching for the aforementioned Vault, Torglin in the Maw's Terraculum, or various Korthia rares, makes it an on-demand entrance to be, simply put, useful. However, due to the single-use factor of the Riftstone, it falls behind in necessity and ease of access for a majority of players looking for a Rift access and a quick way to obtain this item. And today's video is brought to you by Warhammer 40k Tacticus. If you're into strategy games, epic battles, and diving into the Warhammer universe, you're going to love this. What I really enjoy about Tacticus is how every decision counts. It's not just about throwing your troops into battle. You have to think ahead, position strategically, and adapt to every challenge. It's like a giant chessboard, but instead of pawns and knights, you've got space marines, orcs, necrons, and more battling it out. The campaigns are a blast to play. Each mission brings something fresh, and unlocking powerful heroes is really satisfying. But honestly, what keeps me hooked is the customization. Building the ultimate team with my favorite factions and seeing them grow stronger over time, well, that's the whole reason I play RPG games in the first place. That and making spreadsheets for min-maxing. So whether you're a longtime Warhammer fan, or you just love a good strategy game, give Warhammer 40k Tacticus a try. Trust me, you'll get hooked in no time. Download it today and join the battle. Next up at number 9, we have the Silver Shardhide Whistle, a spectral version of the bear-like Korthian animal of the same name. What makes this such a helpful item is due to the fact that it's a toy, shared account-wide and usable on all alts regardless of level and campaign progress. This toy is obtained in Korthia, located in the Mauler's Outlook portion of the zone. In order to interact with the precarious silk nest, you will need to locate a glittering item called Noxus Moth to gain the extra action button needed to control and ride a Shardhide. Once you've mounted up and oriented yourself with the tree holding the nest, you'll just want to simply run the Shardhide into the tree. Doing this will result in a despawning mount, and the nest will be dislodged and lootable. The toy is a 100% drop chance from the dislodged nest. The reason this is included in our list is due to the lack of flying in both Korthia and the Maw, and an item that increases the ground movement speed by 400% is very useful to have. Besides, speedy, fast movement abilities are always enjoyable to press. Most especially on higher population realms where rares will spawn and everybody is racing to tag it. Having a massive advantage with a lightning fast mount will prevent missing the mount of dropping rares within seconds. If you've ever just missed a spawn, having this toy might have saved you some temporary heartache. Finally, leaving Korthia in the Maw and discussing our number 8 entry, the Wormhole Generator Shadowlands. This engineering toy is crafted using the zone-specific ores, along with the engineering-specific reagents, but available to purchase on the auction house. Its ease of access and 15-minute cooldown activation means it 100% deserves its spot on this list. However, despite the low cooldown and ability to pick between the zones you want to travel to, it's only usable by engineers. Thankfully, if you want to use this toy, you do only need 1 level in Shadowlands engineering, but it is still unfortunately a profession locked. Using the base generator toy, you're able to easily teleport between Revendreth, Ardenweald, Bastion, Maldraxxus, the Maw, and Oribos. The reason this entry is as low as it is primarily due to the fact that in 9.2's Eternity's End, it added the option to open a wormhole into Zereth Mortis. How is this a bad thing, you might ask? It isn't. The issue lies with the fact that it was implemented unintentionally as a bug and subsequently removed with a hotfix. The Zereth Mortis wormhole was then later added as a Paragon reputation reward from the Enlightened as a very low drop chance inclusion. Meaning, as an engineer, you need to grind out one of, if not the most tedious reputations to Exalted, then farm another 10,000 reputation just for an attempt at obtaining the Enlightened Portal research item. An absolute slap in the face to engineers just looking for a fast portal to Zereth Mortis, as by the time you would realistically obtain the research, you wouldn't necessarily find a reason to continue to wormhole to the zone anyway. Despite whatever caused the Enlightened brokers to withhold their portal research to engineers, this is still a very quick way to travel throughout the Death Realms on such a short cooldown, cutting down on all of those long flights between zones. While slightly on the topic of Zereth Mortis, coming at number 7 is the addition of Olea Caches for Cypher the First One's uses beyond the initial Forge upgrades. Now, while this might not necessarily seem like a worthwhile entry, the use of Olea Caches is simply a resource sink and providing an alternative source for all protoform synthesis crafting reagents. The only downside to the cache is that it is RNG on which reagents you get, if any. You are guaranteed anywhere from 10 to 25 Genesis motes, the prime crafting fundamentals for all of the synthesis items, and some gold for your trouble, though not much. The most notable drops and reason for its addition is with the chance at the most annoying and out-of-the-way materials. Those include Glimmer of Cunning, the second lowest drop chance on a battle pet crafting reagent, only contained in Tarachnid eggs in the northernmost desert portion of Zereth Mortis. Second only to the Glimmer of Satisfaction, obtained by a very small chance whenever a Shadowland feast or stone soup is eaten, anywhere in the zone or in the raid, Sepulchre of the First Ones. Speaking of the raid, 2 of the mount-related protoform synthesis items drop only from their respective sources. The Mawforged Brittle from the high-value cache located just before entering Zymox's boss area. To open the cache, you will need to kill Taskmaster Zypro while he has 3 stacks of Synergy. Synergy is applied when he is surrounded by other brokers in the area around him, so a minimum of 3 brokers are required to be near him for the Security Override Orb to drop. The other mount item comes directly from Hevium in any and all difficulties, the Tools of Incomprehensible Experimentation, a long name for an equally long grind. With all this being said, if these sources aren't your forte, the Olea Cache provides the only other alternative source for all the grindy, much lower drop rates. If you're interested in the use of alts to passively obtain Genesis motes, glimmers, and the mount reagents, the Ciphers of the First Ones is warband transferable, meaning any and all amounts you previously got weekly can be applied and transferred to the character you have unlocked the vendor on. To unlock the vendor, Olea Manu, you will need to have maxed out the Ciphers Council in Exile's Hollow. Upon completion of Altonia Understanding, there will be an available quest Broken Circle. Finishing up the short quest line, the character you finish the ciphers on will have the vendor unlocked. This is character specific. Once that is done, buying the item Improved Cipher Analysis tool with 150 ciphers will increase acquisition by 50% on only the character it is used on. This is not account-wide. Once all these criteria are met, you are freely able to farm or passively collect ciphers for purchase of the many of the Manu's wares, including Olea Cache. Despite all of the steps required to advance to be able to purchase, it is proven to be a very good source of rare materials, and a lattice is necessary in protoform synthesis pets and mounts, depending on your dedication to farming ciphers and your luck. While it is very handy as a collector to have alternative options for drops, the complexity and intensity of the farming for often little reward brings it down onto its uncomfortable 7th place. And at number 6, we have the various reputation contracts. These items are crafted by scribes and are usable on all characters regardless of profession, unlike the engineering exclusive wormhole generator. Contracts can be obtained via the auction house or by simply crafting them yourself, as long as you have a minimum revered with your scribe. Reputation contracts require the user to be level 51 or above, and friendly with the reputation you intend to use the contract with, the duration of which is always 7 days. Added back in Battle for Azeroth, contracts were primarily an extra optional addition for players looking to increase reputations through world questing, and was continued through Shadowlands and even into the War Within. You can only have 1 active contract per character, but you can change them out by right-clicking off the buff or overriding the current spell. The purpose of contracts is to apply 10 reputation to every world quest you complete in the expansion zone, meaning you cannot buy a Death's Advance contract and complete Dragonflight world quest for the 10 reputation. While the reputation gain is minuscule, it helps get an edge on hard to obtain reputations gated by weekly or daily quests, without a steady and reliable way to efficiently farm them. Contracts are by no means necessary. However, they can help you with early progression and a decent weekly increase to your overall reputation level. A good example of this is with Zereth Mortis Enlightened Reputation, one which is only ever increased by a very limited amount of daily and world quests, the weekly patterns within patterns, and weekly Sepulchre of the First Ones cleared. Considering how many rewards are tied to Paragon reputation drops, if there's something you're after, a contract will make it slightly less monotonous. While the previous entries on this list have related towards cosmetics or slight player power, the Broker Mark of Distinction directly enhances the smooth transfer between covenants by the means of renown levels. Placing at the middle of the pack at number 5, the Broker Mark of Distinction is purchased from Ardara. Located just behind the Flightmaster in Oribos, this broker sells an item which we'll touch upon later on in the video, and the Broker's Mark at 500 gold per. Once used, it will raise your current Covenant Renown to level 60 out of 80, granting all rewards up to level 60. This means that you can buy a total of 4 per character, using it as you swap between the 4 main covenants. Keep in mind, this item is warbound, allowing you to safely mail it between alts or deposit into your war bank, allowing for quick and easy storage for when you need it. The Broker Market Distinction is placed at 5 because with enough alts, you're able to get massive amounts of Anima at the expense of 2,000 gold per character. It is insanely useful for painless Anima grinding, Anima of which is used in nearly every portion of the Shadowlands expansion. And the only drawback is that you must reach level 80 renown with a single character in order to be able to purchase this item, though the requirement is only 1 covenant. Once you've completed this achievement renowned, Ardara will sell the Broker Mark of Distinction. Prior to 9.2.5, the renown threshold was only to level 40, later bumped up to 60 thankfully. With that out of the way, let's head into the 4th entry, Mythic Plus Portals. These portals were originally added in 9.2 with the Season 3 Dungeons of Shadowlands, fondly remembered for the powerhouse that was the encrypted affix, namely On top of objectively one of the best seasonal affixes ever added to Mythic Plus, was the cosmetic addition of dungeon portals. These required timing 20s on the dungeons you wish to teleport to, or in the case of mega dungeons, timing both wings on a 20 key. Taken from the original challenge mode dungeon teleports of both Mist and Warlords, Shadowlands introduced the new Mythic Plus challenge mode portals. It was a very helpful inclusion of all active dungeons in the Mythic pool, allowing those who obtain the portals to directly teleport outside the dungeon with an 8-hour cooldown for the ability. However, the cooldown was reset upon the completion of a Mythic Plus dungeon, allowing for another portal usage directly after the one that you already teleported with. With this in mind, it is clear that portals would be here to stay. Expanded into the 2 mega dungeons from both Legion and Battle for Azeroth, Karazhan and Megagon respectively, Grimrail Depot, and lastly Iron Docks in Season 4. The reason this was included is because of its incredibly useful positional teleport directly into the Shadowlands, even being added as an evergreen mythic reward. New to the War Within, these portals were made account-wide for all characters, however only usable for characters that reach max level or who had reached max level when the pre-patch was released. Meaning an older level 70 character will still have access to Mythic Plus portals if they've obtained the level prior or during the War Within pre-patch. However, without obtaining the new portals added in Season 1 of War Within. We felt it would be unfair to not add the Shadowland Dungeons portals considering they have paved the way to a permanent reward past their introduction. With a new dungeon philosophy of a mix of newer and older dungeons, many Shadowlands dungeons are being introduced into the dungeon pool, meaning their portals are once again obtainable for players who are able to time a now 10 key, previously 20 before the Dragonflight Season 4 dungeon squish. The on-demand zone teleports and account-wide aspects ranks these portals highly, despite a very challenging matter of obtaining them, so they're ranked at 4. If you would like a much easier and Shadowlands-centered teleportation, look no further. And at number 3, we have the Attendant's Pocket Portals. These are smaller, one-time use items from callings in the main Shadowlands zones. Although not as diverse as the Mythic Plus portals, they are very easy to obtain comparatively. The portals consist of Oribos, Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, and lastly Revendreth. They are consume on use and teleport you to a set position in the zone chosen, cutting down on the tediously long flight paths between the zones. The manner of obtaining these helpful little devices is slightly RNG on whether or not the correct calling will be up. The calling in question you'll want to look out for is called Training in Bastion, or whichever zone is selected for the training. On top of that, you will need to have a specific trainee. Dios for Kyrians, Dregs for Necrolords, Tinklewings for Night Fae, and Drippy for Venthyr. These trainees will spawn an item called Dirty Glinting Object, which has a timer of 5 minutes exactly to spawn after you and your trainee kill an enemy in the zone the calling is active. These small objects will be glittering like loot on corpses, so make sure that you're killing mobs away from any ground clutter. From there, a massive loot table including pet training stones, pet battle stones, potions, gems, crafting materials, and finally the Attendant's Pocket Portal to a random zone. They drop in quantities of 3, so you're always guaranteed to get 3 when looting. Simply leaving the calling up for the duration of the 3 days it's active will make it so you can passively farm these items. And pet stones if that's your thing. The pocket portals are soulbound and stack up to 20, though are not unique. While on the farm for these portals, you have a small chance for a cute ghostly cat named Lucy. Just for the cat, the Attendant's Pocket Portal goes at number 3 for simplicity, effectiveness, and rewards. And at number 2 are the 3 Venthyr Parasol toys. Stylish Black Parasol, the Countess's Parasol, and the Weathered Purple Parasol. All 3 of these Mary Poppin-esque parasols share the same functionality, just coming in 3 stylish color options. Stylish Black Parasol is the easiest of the 3 to obtain, simply looted from the Treasure Stylish Parasol, located on the westernmost portion of the Charred Ramparts. The next easiest to obtain is the Weathered Purple Parasol, a reward from the achievement Parasoling. This achievement is granted when you complete the world quest Parasol Peril 10 times. At maximum, this achievement will take you 10 world quests if completed with just 1 character. However, since War Within's Warband feature, you can easily complete the world quest 1 time on 10 characters. The Parasol is then mailed to you upon completion, granting a purple-hued counterpart. Lastly, the Countess's Parasol is a dark green version given when hosting the Countess in your Ember Court Covenant activity. This toy is dropped from the final chest after the Ember Court is concluded, as long as the Countess has been invited. You must be a Venthyr in order to obtain this Parasol, putting it just behind the other 2 in terms of accessibility. The reason why these toys are listed so high in this list is due to their significance in terms of negating fall damage. These are some of the only toys in the game that allow you to glide while in instance content, if you don't happen to be a Demon Hunter or Dracthyr. The Parasol acts as a small burst of glide and slow fall, granting the user 15 seconds of flight before closing up again in a sort of recharge manner. Parasol cooldowns are shared between all 3. However, at a 5-minute cooldown usage and 15-minute duration, it is a very handy item. They are all also incredibly stylish. While not in use, the Parasol will be held by the player and be visible until the buff runs out. It even stays visible while mounted. And it wouldn't be a useful item tier list without the main attraction, the Traveler's Anima Cache. This is a 1-to-1 ratio transfer of 1k Anima between Covenants and Alts. Despite the War Within and Warbound currencies, the Anima Cache allowed for alt-friendly transfers back in Shadowlands and subsequently Dragonflight. Unfortunately, with the new Warbound system, you are still required to go back to Oribos and purchase this item from Ondaru if you wish to send it to an alt or transfer between Covenants you have spare Anima on. A slight critique would be to include being able to transfer directly from the currency tab and to see all available Anima even from different Covenants. However, due to the sheer amount of Anima necessary to unlock Covenant features and cosmetics, it does its intended purpose well. Coupled with the Broker Mark of Distinction, it allows for massive amounts of Anima to be collected and transported between characters. With Anima, the currency Grateful Offerings are also warbound. Offerings are able to be collected and transferred between alts using the currency tab, and are required for purchase of most Anima-related cosmetics, including mounts and transmog. The biggest use for the Traveler's Anima Cache is for the Covenant Sanctum upgrades, requiring a total of 33,500 Anima on just one of the main Covenant features, Abomination Factory, Ember Court, Path of Ascension, and the Queen's Conservatory, resulting in a total of 134,000 Anima if you want to max out each one of these features, and this is just the main Sanctum upgrades. For an even bigger scale, the total amount of Anima you would need across all 4 Covenants is 324,000. This number is not including any of the transmogs, pets, toys, illusions, and mounts. Having a smooth way of transferring massive amounts of Anima for upgrades and collections is such a nice addition even prior to warbands, and it earns a spot at a humble number 1. And with that, we wrap up the top 10 most useful items added with Shadowlands. Many of the systems introduced within the expansion were reputations and grindy. Yet sprinkled in were helpful assistance in transportation, quality of life additions, and fun means of interacting with the world. If you think there's any other useful items we may have missed, or have any ideas for future videos just like this one, please let us know down in the comments below. Use code HelloJan and get 2,000 gold and 50 Blackstones available until February 1st.